We cannot reach a community with a couple of people. I mean, we all agree with that we're called to fish in community. So I want to ask the question, who should serve on committee? Okay, and what I mean by that is the last year in the Office of Alumni and Friends, one of the things that we did is we surveyed all of the alumni and friends over the course of 4 weeks that we have access to that would respond to our survey. And actually we thought that we would let it run for 4 weeks, and we thought we would be, oh gosh, hopefully we'll get at least 2,000 responses. We had 3,000 responses in 2 weeks, and we shut it down because we had enough responses to the survey. It was a pretty lengthy survey. And it actually also said, hey, would you like to have a phone conversation about some of these things as well? We had 700 people say, yes, I would like you to call me. Here's my number. And I'd like to talk about my experience with Young Life. And so we have this wonderful data because we had a marketing company helping with us that really helps in the context of Deeper in Christ, because we asked questions about what influenced them when they were involved with Young Life and what they're involved with after Young Life and where were they at before they got in relationship. And yes, I'll share that data with you if you want.
What percentage was positive versus negative?
Oh, it was very positive. These were all alumni and friends, and primarily they self-identified with the mission because they had a great experience with it. So it is kind of a biased survey, but we didn't really ask biased questions. And we did get, we didn't get a lot of negativity, but we got a lot of honesty. So in that, what we were able to do is we were able to define that within our Young Life alumni and friends, as we're trying to be more like laser beam than buckshot, in our kind of the way that we're moving forward, is that we have 5 major personas. Okay, we have our post high school people, so high school graduates. We have our young professionals. We have our family. Because if you didn't have kids, you were in the young professional category. So we had the families, we had the empty nesters, and we had the retirees. 5 very unique stages of life, right? 5 totally different personas. Every one of them in a different station of life, asking different questions, having different experiences, having a different way of potentially being involved with Young Life in different places. So how we were going to find them would be completely different. Now, the reason I share that with you, it's been fascinating to learn because we've learned a lot about what I would call the lost years. The lost years within Young Life are 24 to 35. People just fall off the map. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm involved. I was involved in high school. I was involved in college. I was leading, and then I graduated, and boom. What happened? And that's what we're trying to figure out. Because then they come back on the radar sometimes when they have kids in middle school. Okay, or they're in a community and they know other kids, or they know families, or there's no Young Life where they're at and their kids are in high school. And then they kind of stay connected a bit more until they're empty nesters, or their kids graduate from high school. What we're trying to figure out is, how do we keep people connected? And not against their will, but in ways that are really meaningful and help them have a lifelong connection to the organization. I think it's important in this conversation. So when I ask the question, who could serve on committee? And then the follow-up question would be, who could serve as helpers? Maybe they're not full-fledged committee. Maybe they're people that are helping. Who do you think of naturally when you think of the people that could serve on committee? First. What?
Parents of kids that are involved.
Okay, so family, the family persona. Okay, anybody else?
Retired folks.
Okay, so we think of retired folks. Okay. All right. So we've got 2 out of 5 personas, right, that are strongly represented in the context of committee. Oftentimes, because we think of the post-high school and the young professional as leaders, right? We've kind of slotted people. This is your role. You're this age, you'll do this. The reality is, Dr. Bob, isn't he in Kent or Renton? And isn't he like 65 and still leading, him and his wife? So there are people that have broken the mold. And yes, they're wired differently, they're gifted differently, they're called differently, they're sacrificing differently. But the fact is, it could be that there are lots of people that could be on committee and could be helpers, right? And so if we start to kind of break the mold a little bit, and we start to recognize that there aren't just empty nesters and families, that's not the only market that we're shooting to. We might actually think that we might actually find that there's way more people out there that could actually come on board, that could join on some level. Now, committee, we're going to talk about roles, but let me stop and talk about helper. What would that mean? Like, do you have to be a full-fledged committee person to be involved as an adult in area ministry? Or are the only options, donor, leader, committee? And if we all agree that those are not the only three options, what does helper mean in your mind? I mean, what are some thoughts about helper? What does it mean just to help, be involved?
I think of events, fundraising events,
Okay.
and doing different tasks.
Like what? What kind of task?
Golf tournaments, setting up holes, banquets, doing, center table things for the banquet. There's a variety of things.
Okay, what personas could do what you just described? When I talked about the 5 personas, which ones could do that, which ones couldn't?
I would say all could do it.
They could all do it. You could actually have a young professional who's not ready to step in the committee, doesn't feel like they have time to lead, doesn't have a lot of money to give, but boy, they could help set up for an event, couldn't they? They might even be able to think of a very unique event, and be the front runner for that, whatever it might be. I know it's different. We don't naturally think that way the longer we've been involved with Young Life, but other helping type roles. What other helping roles could there be that aren't necessarily your committee roles?
Leader care roles,
Okay, leader care. Like, what does that mean?
like take leaders out to coffee, have them over to your house for team meetings, buy club supplies, things like that.
Okay. So who could do that?
Quite a few people.
Quite a few people could do that. Okay.
Most everyone.
Okay. There's a guy in Southern California named Alan Lukai, and he's a retiree, and he's given 1 year of his life to Young Life as a test. He wants to see if we're going to use them. And if we don't, he'll move on to the next organization. Alan Lukai has been on committee before, and really as a retiree, what he has been doing is he's been advocating into the community that he's been a part of forever. And he has set up this incredible thing there in Southern California in his area where he has businesses lined up that are all partners with the ministry. And so if you're a leader and you're taking a kid out to pizza, you're going to get 50% off the pizza if you've got a kid with you. Or 4 times during the week, the first 4 leaders that bring kids in for coffee get them for free. I mean, he's got probably 35, 40 of these types of things set up on a regular basis. He's actually having a grilled cheese truck made along with some other retirees that can do this kind of stuff. And they're just doing it so they have a mobile grilled cheese truck. And they can go around to the different schools at lunchtime and they can serve the leaders through they have the time and they have the means. They don't want to be on committee right now. In Colorado Springs right now, I went down to First Pres recently because I had a meeting and there were a whole bunch of senior citizens that were setting up griddles in the foyer of First Pres. It was like a Wednesday morning, about 11 o'clock, and I was like, what are you guys doing? Because I'm not really involved in that part of Colorado Springs. They said, oh, we're setting up for the grilled cheese because Palmer High School gets out in about a half hour. I said, so what do you guys do? Are you on committee? No. What do? Well, we just help with grilled cheese around Palmer High School. And so what we do is we get all the supplies, we set up everything, we cook everything, we serve everything. Well, why do you do all that? Oh, well, because we love the leaders and we love the kids, and that frees the leaders up to just show up. They don't have to do anything other than be with kids. None of them are on committee. They're all helpers. They're retirees. Over and over again, I hear from retirees, you don't take us seriously. You're not listening to us. We have all this time and yes, we have money, but it's not just about money. That we really do want to make a difference, and there's ways we can do that. I'm just trying to expand our thinking. If we think in terms of personas, we might kind of gravitate toward different locations and communicate opportunities in a different way. We might be having a committee meeting and talking about the banquet and all the overwhelming needs and go, well, wait a second. Maybe there's different avenues. Maybe there's ways that we can bring different people in that we wouldn't have normally. It didn't have to be just 6 of us doing everything. Maybe it could be 16 of us. I don't know. But thinking about personas. And who could serve as helpers? That actually is an official Young Life term, by the way. You can be a helper. okay? So,
Actually,
yes,
yeah.
in GPS, you can put that in there.
Yes.
To the volunteer manager, drop them.
Exactly. Okay, so more people. That leads us to more people. Do you know your needs? Do you know your roles? Okay, do you have a list of all the roles that need to be filled in your area? Has anybody taken the time to actually write that down?
I did once because I borrowed the form from you.
Okay. So in your packet, one of the things that we have, and this is from a long time ago, because you'll see that there's the bubble logo in there on some of the pages. There are a couple of things that say roles. One of them we did in 2004, 2005, and we literally, this one, it's two lines, and we just listed every major role that we could think of. And honestly, there are probably many other roles that are a part of that. But we went through a process, and this is just an example. We went through a process of saying, okay, on an annual basis, what are we accomplishing? What are we involved in? And what does it take to do that? And I think if you're thinking about helpers, and then you're thinking about committee roles, and you're thinking about these personas and where different people can kind of fit in, you know, you could be inviting a lot of people into the ministry through just one small opportunity. And all of a sudden have you guys, if you've been a leader before, you know that there's almost no person who was invited to be the guitar player at club who said, oh, I'll just play guitar, that didn't become a Young Life leader. Okay? They all become the Young Life leader.
It's a drop!
Yeah, it's because they just fall in love with the kids, they love the ministry, they're in. It's the same deal. If you have a sense of where you might find people, which is everywhere, and that nobody is outside the realm of serving on some level, and you have a list of all the different roles, and you just begin to invite people in relationally, people will get bit by the bug, you know? And I don't mean that in a negative way, but they will. Or they'll feel like they're serving in a way that works for them, and that's all right. And maybe it'll be a year or two, but for them to stay connected for a while before there's that opportunity for them to get more involved, that's okay. Universities have done surveys. I've done some research from the alumni standpoint with universities. And what they found is that alumni give the most of any population in a university to that university's needs, okay? If an alumnus attends an event, they double their giving, okay? If they come to any event, walkathon, homecoming game, they double their event. If they actually volunteer, okay, so they go to the event and then the next involvement or whatever is volunteering, they triple their giving to the university. Statistically, it proves out all the way across the board. So as you think about people stepping in a small role as a helper, that's a very significant step for them, okay? And as they're involved in that event, they will get involved more. And then as they volunteer their time, they'll even get more involved. And I know that could sound manipulative. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that oftentimes we're saying time is an issue. There's not enough people, okay? Well, maybe there are more people. Maybe we just have to kind of reframe the way that we're thinking about what we're doing. And have we taken the time to list out all the roles, which could be an overwhelming thing, by the way. It could kind of hurt at first because you're looking going, oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? How are the 6 of us going to do that? That's not the idea. Okay, so we have them all on paper. So then who do we know? Who are we connected to? What kind of people could serve in some of these different roles that we've defined? How are we looking outside of ourselves? The other thing I would say is, this one is just committee role, work, wealth, wisdom, or wealth, work, wisdom. It's just a general overview of what does it mean to serve on committee. This is something we put together years ago, and that's a question that you also have to ponder is, when you do walk people into committee, what are you walking them into? You know, do you have a really clear, defined, like, here's our job description, or here's the expectations, here's what you're committing to. And that's an example of us trying to give that a good shot that wasn't overwhelming to people. Didn't necessarily, I don't know if that it had hours assigned to it, like our leadership job descriptions did, but I think you could talk through that if you wanted. But I just want to make sure that you're noticing that those are in there.